live. Hello, everyone. It is Dan and Andrea, and we are part of the Geek Out team. And we are coming to you live today on a topic that is really near and dear to our hearts. It was our first bonding moment. Would you say, Dan?
What, this
Um,
project
Not
or?
this project, but the seed of this project. Like, was the
Oh,
very
well,
early
yeah, if we want to
beginnings.
go back to 10 years ago, but sure. Uh,
Well, yeah, I mean, you had been playing the membership game way longer before I came on scene in ClickFunnels and
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
learn
I
how to
was
make it
building
bend to
my
your will.
yeah, I was building my first memberships in like 2017, 2018. 2018 is when Steve Larson asked me to build the membership training for his affiliate outreach program.
Yeah.
So that was really the point. And I always tell the stories when it was at that point when he asked me that I got up and I wiped off all my whiteboards and I just said, I'm the membership guy, and haven't turned back since.
That's
And
awesome.
that,
I
and
love
now
it.
we're doing all kinds of other stuff. And
Yeah.
I haven't really told you this, but I'm doing all kinds of AI stuff now too. It's just mind blowing what the
Yeah.
AI can do. It's just, I mean, it's like a decade every day that it
Yeah.
advances. It's crazy. Absolutely
Yeah.
crazy. But what are
Yeah.
we talking about today instead of us yammering on here?
Okay. So today, we've been honing in a lot on, and talking on the Geek Out Show, because we are membership experts and we want to make sure that we can bend the membership to our will. We've had a pretty firm stance that you can do your subscriptions in ClickFunnels 2.0. You can maybe get away with your email kind of sort of in a way, but memberships, we've had this really hard stance of like, I don't know that it's a good time to move to ClickFunnels 2.0. Well, in the past month and a half, we've had about 20-ish projects now where we have needed to build memberships in 2.0 because that's where the customers were at. They were ready to take the risk. They wanted it to be in there, non-negotiable. So we knew that we would always need to figure out 2.0, but just having those projects has accelerated our growth. And there was a moment in 1.0 where Dan, you were doing your membership ninja course and you started to really get into like making it bend to your will with the things that we were trying to produce for customers. And I kind of feel like this past week, correct me, keep me honest here. I kind of feel like the last week, maybe 2 weeks, I feel like it's that same kind of beginning of the turn where it's like, we're actually starting to get 2.0 to bend to our will the way we would have wanted to. Would you agree with
Well,
that?
well, I would say actually it was more in November when we were building that one
Mm,
project for someone who you would all know, but we can't talk about yet.
yeah.
But it's definitely a name you would all know. We built a huge membership site for this person, and it basically forced us to have to sit down collectively for a week or two and just beat our head up against the wall and get it to work. And we did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the only way you really learn this stuff. That's how I learned how to do all this stuff in 1.0 is you just come up with an idea and you go, okay, this idea is crazy, but how can we make it work? One of the
Mhm.
very first builds I did was for a gal who was running a nutrition program, and she wanted to only show like the nutrition plan, the workout plan for a singular week, and then it would
Mhm.
be taken away, and then the next week they would see it. And we built all this right into 1.0. And so
Mhm.
you didn't get to see the past stuff, you didn't get to see the future stuff, and there was like a half a year's worth of content in there, and it just rotated through based on the date. And
Mhm.
that took a lot of work because at the time I didn't know how to write anything in JavaScript. And so
Yeah.
I not only had to learn how to do a JavaScript, I had to learn how to do it inside of ClickFunnels. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing is you just gotta say, okay, damn it, I'm gonna figure this out. And that's exactly what we did with 2.0. And I knew there'd come a day when it would come to that, where we'd have to basically force ourselves to do it. And we did. But we're
Mhm.
still building stuff in 1.0 as well. And I
Mhm.
think that's what you want to talk about this week. We were
Yeah.
working on a 1.0 big, huge project
Mhm.
there. So we're getting our feet wet in both of them right now. And in fact, right before we jumped on this call, I was doing some stuff on how to basically modify the customer center page in 2.0 to basically work a heck of a lot better than it does natively straight out of the box. And part of that is we can thank Jamie Smith for giving us an idea the other day
Yeah, thank you,
using
Jamie.
it's a thing. It's called liquid syntax in ClickFunnels. And if you don't know what it is, and you want to know, just reach out to me and I'll do what I can to explain it to you. But it's super cool once you learn how it works.
That's awesome. So cool. And so again, Dan did mention that what we're going to show today is 1.0, but we're going to do this exact same build in 2.0. So stay tuned for that, and we will give you more of a behind the scenes on that. Before we dive into what it actually looks like, though, I think it's really important that so Dan and I have been working together for a while with Susan and Nicole to build these membership spaces. And we can build amazing membership spaces, but there was a very different curveball that Russell gave us when he started talking about continuity experiences. That's a different game. Because essentially, just to build a really great website, or not a website, to build a really good membership site, right? And just get somebody in and get them to go through one course, that's one part of the equation. But then how do you actually make an engaging space where people want to come back to again and again to actually feed into a continuity experience? And so that's the journey right now, the problem space that all of us are living in the Geek team to say, okay, what does that look like? So we've spent quite a bit of time on trying to understand that. So we wanted to share a little bit about the project that we did and how our thought process went into on that vein. So the client is wanting to build a continuity experience, very classic ClickFunnels, level 1, level 2. We're starting with level 1, and we have a philosophy that when we're playing the continuity experience game, what we're really doing is we're playing the game of world creation. So imagine Disneyland. He has an amazing theme park, right? But it's bounded, and there's bounds of Disneyland. And anytime that any new thing needs to come into Disneyland, it has to still support the overall Disneyland experience or Disney World experience. The same thing is true for you and your continuity experience. Your continuity experience is your Disneyland or Disney World, whatever your preference is. And so when you bring new things into the world, you have to have a place for them and understand how are the people in your world going to navigate that. So a while back, this is not new, we were analyzing hundreds of membership sites, and we had discovered these 6 experience models. And so when you have a great idea, the very first thing that we encourage people to do is to say, okay, considering your Disneyland, considering your continuity experience, where does this new experience, what's the intention of it? And so where does it fit into your land? And so there's two different choices in that. The first one is that, okay, this new thing that I'm thinking of helps me get people into my world or reinforces being in my world. So these would be things like events, challenges, summits, mastermind, or not masterminds, master events like retreats, right? Or sprints. So this would be things like challenges, or not challenges like Pedro's challenges, but more like one funnel away challenge, right? Is a sprint where super concentrated. I want to get them into my world, and I want them to get a quick win and get momentum. The next set of experience models are more library. So this is like you have massive amount of content, and how do I actually navigate that? You have a course, which is more like DIY or self-paced. A mastermind, which is usually found in like your level 2 programs, and then coaching programs. So these are the 4 possible experience models that help you advance people in your world. So we had a client came to us. She has the intention of having 2 levels, right? Level 1 and level 2. For both of those levels, they start with a sprint. And the reason for that sprint is to help people get into her world, understand what it is, and go quickly in there. Now, because offers come with not just the core sprint part, but it might come with communities, it might come with replays, it might come with additional free resources. We need to be able to have a customer center that houses all those things. So the customer center that we've been working on is essentially like this. So we have a big welcome, right? We'll talk about the nuances of some of this on a later episode. But essentially, I'm orienting to the world. This is going to be your flagship offer, the thing that brings them in the door, probably your level 1. Then your dramatic demonstration invitation, the free community, or your newsletter, depending on what your nurture system is. And then your secondary offer is usually your level 2. And then get into my world is like everything else, but you know where it fits in your world. So when you do challenges or events or anything like that, that is like replay world, but free usually, they can get into that. Okay, so those are the foundation. So I want you to take this concept, and this is where it gets really fun. So
Okay, well, I have
Dan,
one question before you go
yeah,
on to the next thing here.
yeah,
Because on the right-hand side there, you have DD1. So
yeah,
dramatic demonstration 1, which for people who don't know what dramatic demonstration means is basically, let's just call it a sales pitch. It can look in a lot of different ways. It can be from a stage, it can be a video, it can be a sales page, it can be anything you want. Obviously, the more dramatic, if you can involve elephants and giraffes and stuff, the better that is. It definitely makes it much more dramatic in a P.T. Barnum kind of a way. But my question is on here, so we got somebody inside of our membership area already. Why would we be linking them to the dramatic demonstration here? I would have assumed that they had already saw your dramatic demonstration, which is what got them in here. So what is this the demonstration for? What is this a sales pitch for?
Oh my gosh, I love this question, Dan. It's such a good one. So this actually, I think for the longest time, you were actually the first one that introduced me to the concept that we can use membership spaces for lead gens. So instead of like sending out an opt-in, sending people to the opt-in, giving them the download, and then they leave, get them into your membership space, and your ability to upsell them and bring them deeper into your world significantly increases. So let's say that somebody doesn't come in through your dramatic demonstration, but they come in for your free community, or you have a ton of free resources down here that they might get access to, right? Or they come in through, they just hear about you and they want to come into your world, and this is a link off of your site. So not everybody who comes in would necessarily have started with your dramatic demonstration. They could have come in through your YouTube, your Wild West, your nurture space. And then they come in, they would see locks, of course, on all these things. And then they would see the DD1 as like, this is where to get started. Dive into the world right here.
Well, and just to let people know, on ClickFunnels 1.0, it was very easy to do what we refer to as an open front end. And I always said, just let people get in there for free. So they get to the page, they opt in essentially by putting in an email address and a password. Anybody who landed on that page could put in an email address and a password and get to the inside. And I always said, put some free content in there. And then there were several different mechanisms that we could build into it. And some of them were built in by ClickFunnels, some of them that we built in, where you could then upsell them to other stuff. So they'd see some content, they go to click on it. Oops, you don't have access to this. Here, you can go over here and go to a sales page where your dramatic demonstration would be your sales video or whatever. And then they could do it. Now in 2.0, they have a lot more of that stuff built in. And at Funnel Hacking Live last year, they were doing the State of the Union or whatever the heck they call it. And they were talking about the membership sites and not just the membership sites, but what were some of the other things that they had? I forget. But there was at least 6, 8, 10, 12 different places along the way that they said, oh, and you can use this inside of a membership area, or you can use this inside of somewhere else to upsell somebody into a higher level of membership. So a lot more of that stuff is actually built into ClickFunnels now than it ever was before.
Yeah. Yep. So well said. And I think now it's like all the ingredients are there in 2.0, but I think to what you're doing, Dan, it is now how do we actually make it render, like show up in UI how we want it to. And so this is the code that Dan is cracking.
Well, and that's the thing. It's kind of like I was saying earlier. It's just like you just gotta when it comes to it, then you have to dive in there and figure out how it actually works. And like I said, there's 6, 8, 10, 12 different ways. And so, we'll discover one at a time and then build them in and get them working. And then we'll discover another one. And we're just going to have to use an iterative process like that to be able to go through and just kind of over time. And ClickFunnels is still building the stuff and they're still changing it. And so we know that over the next year or so, we're going to get there. It's just a matter of getting it done, working with the developers and getting it to work.
Yep, absolutely. Now, here's what gets really cool. So like we said, we know we're going to do this in 2.0, but this client, she wanted to launch in January, February. So we knew that we needed to do it 1.0 initially, and we'll transfer it over to 2.0 when we're ready. So this is what it looks like in 1.0. Now, I'm already logged in. And I immediately come in, you can see that same concept of the grid. Kudos to Nicole. She did an amazing job on the design. So each one of these, there's the free resources, there's the flagship program, then there's the secondary, there's the social. We played around a little bit on the grid system, and then the community. And so this is a really nice portrait of what that looks like. And we can always be adding, to it as we go. So the particular
now, I will just hang on a second here, Andrea, because your internet feed is not very good. So yeah, if you're just keep going in and out on that image, what you're going to see there, because you were scrolling and everything, what you're going to see is as you move your mouse over each one of those cards, they flip, they turn over. Now, because, okay, now that actually looked pretty good. Okay, now it's starting to work. All right, your internet feed must have been bad. And so now you can see that it says unlock now. So in the case like that, that person, whoever is logged in, does not have access to it. And depending on how you're logged in, we may or may not be able to click on that and then take them off to a sales page. If she's logged in as the admin, it won't work properly. But if somebody comes into this page, and like I said, they just create themselves an account and they come in here, they're going to hover over that thing and they're going to see it and they're going to click on it. And then boom, they're going to go off to a sales page somewhere.
Can we just talk about how awesome you are? Like, look at how the A in the background, you and Nicole, like, and it perfectly aligns. That is so cool.
That's all Nicole. I had nothing to do with that.
That is amazing. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So then they would come in and they would go, and this is now where they're going to start their sprint, right? So it is we want the momentum, we want the feel, we want them to get a quick win in order to get them into the next higher level. So we would click on this. And again, you always start with the identity, make a choice, step into it. We would have the contract with self, and then they would be able to make it public. Critical things in the first part of the journey. Next one would be program overview. So this is the clear journey with the badges. They can print it, they can download it so they can follow along and then share a little bit about themselves inside the community. Now, here's what it gets really cool. So if somebody were to go out and they were to get that first badge, right, which is the up here on Make a Choice, there is, nope, not here. Oh, we haven't got there yet. Okay. So here's where it introduces the first beginning part. They're downloading. Everything's good. We're going to deep link. Look at that. Okay. So now they're coming in, they're doing their mission. And this is where we would put in, hey, this is my mission, right? For reals. I would save it. And now this is actually talking to a backend database that Dan, and shout out to Warren Hales, who's working with us, had created, so that this is talking to a backend database so that when this customer comes back in, we know exactly where they've been. So if I come back out, I go to the dashboard, I go someplace else, and then I come back in and I go to my strategy framework and I come in here, boom, my information is still there, ready and waiting for me. Dan, would you add anything to this?
Well, the only thing I was going to say is, so it gives you two bits of information. One is whatever they typed in. So you can see this in the backend database if you want. You can see what they typed in, and you can also see that they did it. They did the act. Now, in this case here, just the act of us seeing what they typed in there, we don't have to like have a secondary, what do you call it? A trigger? No, what do you call it? Whatever, secondary bit of information saying that they clicked the button, because we know they clicked the button because the information is showing in the database. But with some of these here, it's as simple as, so we tell them go to the Facebook group. So they come in, they get a contract, they sign a contract and take a picture of themselves, and they put up a selfie into Facebook. That's what we've done in some cases. I don't know if you're doing that here or not.
Yeah.
But then they come down to the bottom and they click go to Facebook to go and do whatever task you ask them to do. Well, you're going to see right here that they click that button in the database. It says completed. So we know that they completed that task. At least we know that they clicked the button. Then you have to go into Facebook and see, did they actually do what they said they were going to do and all that. But I would guess most of the time, if people click that button, they're going to go there and do it unless they get distracted by something along the way. And if you want to get really, really crazy, then you can like be monitoring the Facebook group and see, okay, they clicked the button, but they didn't do the task. So then you can follow up with, especially if you're doing coaching calls or something, you say, hey, I see you clicked the button, you didn't do the task. What happened? Oh, the baby started crying. Okay, cool.
Yep. And I think what's so cool about that is that if you've gone through all the effort to create a really clear, intentional customer journey for your humans, and you have it clearly mapped out of what you'd like to see, and you're seeing drop-offs, it allows you to then inject, nurture, and be able to help people along the way, which is really cool. Then, of course, there's badges. Everyone loves badges. I would encourage you to make sure your badges are connected to something meaningful. So this is after they have created their mission, they would go out to Typeform. Oh, yeah, this was when I was testing that. Let me go to another one. Oh, that's not going to let me do it. I think that
Okay, let me just tell people here. So you see right there that underneath it says, "Congratulations, you've
oh, I've
already
already
earned
earned
this
it.
badge." Yeah,
Yeah.
so you're gonna have to
Great.
go down a couple to because well, you can look at your badges to see which one you've earned
Oh yeah,
already.
let's check it
But what I
out.
was gonna say is that so the whole thing is dynamic then knowing which badge you currently are on, because again, we're storing this in a third-party database. We can come in then and we can modify the buttons based upon whether or not they've already got the badge. So in this case here, she did not have badge number 3. So she's going to go out, take the type form. In this case here, these type form questionnaires are quite simple. In the past, we've done it where wasn't there one, there was like 50 questions or something crazy on it. So then you come back, you earn your badge. You couldn't hear it, but you can have, well, if you turn on the volume, you can have the noise of banging and all kinds of stuff. And then you saw the fireworks going off as well. So all that is completely automated. And now, because she went from badge, she got her badge 3. Now it takes you right back to the badge page. And it said, now go and start working towards your next badge, badge number 4. You click on that, it takes you right to where you have to be.
Mm-hmm. So cool. Now, this alone is awesome and it helps everything come to life. It drives engagement. We know that it does. On average, we get 65%, sometimes up to 85% engagement across the board. So super exciting. We love it. We decided to up it up, to take it up one level this go around. And because this one in particular has to do with a lot of very mobile specific things that they learn here, but then they need to go out into the world and they need to have this really quick and easy mobile experience that's integrated with push messages and text messaging and calendar systems and alerts and all this good stuff, where like that does push ClickFunnels a little bit beyond what it's really intended to do. So we're going to keep the education and the main continuity experience here. But when they're out in the world trying to create a habit with what they just learned, we want to make that as easy as possible. So the thing that we use is Glide. Now, we're not going to talk a lot today about Glide, but just to kind of give you a sneak peek, this is a fully integrated Glide experience that goes along with what they're learning. So remember how I said that this is my mission for Reels? This is my mission for Reels. Boom. It automatically updated right there in the Glide app. Super cool. And that is now available for me to see. And I can go ahead and work on my core values and start working on the week and what I need to do. So this is now, I can operationalize it. I can use it as a habit. And one last cool part is that the main person who created the program can check in on people and see how they're doing and give them feedback and can see how people are progressing using the things that she is teaching them.
So
And
same basic idea as we have with our other information is it stores it all into a database, and then you can go in and pull up tables and you can say, okay, you can see your columns here. Okay, these are all the people who did this task this week. These are the people who didn't. Okay, what do I got to do to get them motivated to keep moving forward? Because again, this is all about creating that continuity, the monthly recurring revenue, stopping the churn, or whatever you want to say. And so, I mean, there's really 2 reasons why you do that. One, let's not kid ourselves. We're all in this to make money. Is to make money. But number 2 is if you're actually doing this thinking it's going to help your people, then you actually want to help your people. And
yeah,
so by continuing to put your boot up their butt is what you have to do sometimes. I mean, I'm sorry, it's called coaching, but that's what you have to do to get them to move. Then that's what you got to do. But you only know that now because you have this available to you. Otherwise, you're not going to know if they're doing it or not.
Yep. So true. Yep. And I think that having the app coupled with the ClickFunnels allows for a really nice continuity extension invitation, right? So it's not just a course and it's not just a sprint that now I'm going through. That sprint now can continue on. You can imagine now going into her level 2, they've learned here, they've taken the app, they're starting to try to incorporate in their life. They're coming back for the community. They're coming back for a little bit of the support that they need. And when they're ready for the next level, the life of Anne, right? Then boom, that's right, the next level, and the app will grow with them. So it's this really nice coupling of I'm in ClickFunnels, I'm staying inside the land, and I have this app extension, which helps me go out into the world to go do the things. Super, super cool. And we're looking forward to actually diving deeper into how we did the back end, letting you see a little bit about how the sausage was made. But we wanted to just come to you guys, talk to you a little bit about this, especially stress the importance of understanding the experience model, which allows all of this to happen. And just one more really cool build of a continuity experience that the geeks are working on.
Well,
Dan's
and
available.
the only other thing I would say here is we had that one experience, which is what made us really continue to do this with one of our clients. And I forget what the numbers were, as a video guy. And I forget he had a 50% increase in the back end sales or something because of this as well.
95% and 95%.
95% increase in back end sales. So not only do you keep the monthly recurring coming in, you serve your people, and you also have a greater opportunity to upsell them to a higher level where you can serve them at even a higher level. So
Yeah. Because his sales team, they looked at the engagement system that Dan and I created. They could see how that person progressed and what they did, and they could be able to use that in the sales conversation to get them into the level 2, saying like, "Hey, it looks like you struggled here. It looks like you did really well here. This is how the level 2 can help you to continue on that journey and address those places where you struggled." And yeah, I think they closed at a 95%.
yeah. Yeah, so between all the possible different ways in 1.0 and 2.0 you can upsell, now you also have this additional data in
Mhm.
there to be able to help upsell as well. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of reasons to do it. And like I said, one is money and the other one is helping your people.
Yep. Yep. Good combo. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I see we have three visitors. We love you guys so much, and we appreciate you guys tuning in to all the things that our Geek are doing. If you're interested in what we're doing, we do have a challenge coming up. We do have a cohort model, so we only open up the doors once a quarter. And so the challenge is the time when the doors open. That'll be February 2021, 22. We'll start to drop the link around that here next week. So we're looking forward to having people come in and join the amazing geek community. If you're someone who's just wanting some free support on how do I make ClickFunnels bend to my will, how do I do the linchpin, come into the Geek Out community. It's just geekoutcommunity.com, and we would love to support you in your ClickFunnels Geek Out linchpin journey. So until then, I guess happy Friday, Dan. It's awesome. It's Friday. I'm so looking forward to it being Friday. And I gotta go pack some boxes.
Okay, go pack boxes. Okay.
All right.
I'll see you
Awesome.
later.
All right. Bye, Dan. Bye, everyone.